here. So I think I'll just play some guitar until that happens. The least that I could do to entertain you guys until some people come in. You know? Play a little bit of noise. Yep. Hey, I'm just waiting for more cats to come up, and then I'll start the discussion. Who goes there? Yeah, what's up, everybody? Just waiting for more cats to come on up, and then I will start the discussion. Don't fear. Oh, yeah. All right. All right, there's some people here. So check it out, guys. Glad that you guys are here for this Sunday evening. Yes, Shadow Band Audio. Thought I would just top it off with some guitar playing and stuff. Between bluesy and Middle Eastern type stuff, yeah? Even though that's not the subject matter, you can go to the other channels for that, for all the music stuff that I do. What I want to talk about is this whole voting rights thing and what is the actual cause of it. I'm going to also say that you guys, if you haven't or if you're not familiar with Professor Black Truth, go over there and watch his latest videos on it. It's a very great discussion. And I love the fact that he did not pull any punches, and he didn't go one side party to the other side. He basically addressed it as was, or as is, you know? Very balanced view, very truthful view, and very blatant view of what's really going on. And what I'm going to say hopefully it won't offend anyone, but if it does, I don't know what to tell you. You know, this voting rights thing is a trip, but I'll tell you this. If the Democrats really wanted that to stop, they would have actually done it themselves. They would have safeguarded a lot of things, but they didn't. And a lot of the black grassroots were telling them to do so. You know, they were telling them to, if they wanted to do right and get more support, they wouldn't play that game that they've been playing of just being controlled opposition. This has not caused anything, their benign neglect, when we've talked about things that we've needed, not just as some minority group or people of color, but as foundational Black Americans or original generational Black Americans, so on, descendants of freedmen. That's why what happened. They didn't safeguard it. We here's an example of this. My friends, my really rad friends of the group CJEC. CJEC is a reparations group. It's CJEC. Them and a few other friends of mine went up to, I think it was, Sacramento, and the CBC. They basically we were trying to just advocate for our Freedmen's Bureau. The CBC shot it down. They didn't only shoot it down, they mocked a lot of us that were up there. And these guys, like, a lot of them are not from the lineage. I'm not speaking ill of anybody that isn't of a foundational Black American origin, but this is the thing that we've been dealing with when we're talking about tetherist activity. And these people from the CBC, from the Congressional Black Caucus, literally mocked a lot of my fellow reparationist brothers and sisters. A lot of them who found out like earlier that day that was going on. Like, they kind of just did it thinking that nobody would come out. But brothers and sisters drove for miles from Southern California to like pretty much Northern California. Sacramento's like kind of in Northern Cali, and that went down. The CBC is now crying foul about the Voters Act. But the thing is, dude, the CBC were the same people that were saying, and I have my friends that went up there and were talking about it, and people that I know saying that they didn't need us. They didn't need foundational Black Americans. Okay, so here's the thing for the CBC now. Now do you need us? You're crying foul about the Voting Rights Act, but whose fault was that? It was definitely your fault. You could have safeguarded against all this like weird right-wing stuff that they're doing now, trying to de-evolutionize us and basically like backtrack to implement the same BS that they've been always about. This is nothing new. But they didn't. And unfortunately, the Democrats have a history of being like that. People think that all Black people are all Democrats. A lot of us are like myself. We don't trust either party. We don't trust either party for Black reasons, because of the mistrust. We have a lot of mistrust because of the things that they've done on both sides. So a lot of people misunderstood, even though I don't agree with Ice Cube talking like some of the things that he said on that Tucker Carlson interview. I do agree that he should, just like anybody else does, take whatever our concerns to both parties. We're not beholden to any party. The only thing that we're about is any party that serves us, just like every other group. Every other group is the same way when it comes to their party choices. So the Democrats just got really comfortable and just kind of tried to play, okay, well, at least we're not the Republicans game. No, we want things to be addressed accordingly to us, not something to just just some symbolic BS as you sit up on the couch and put your feet up on the ottoman of our struggles and achievements and just think that you're the only thing that we need. No. Brothers and sisters were asking certain things of the Democratic Party, even when Obama was in office. And a lot of brothers and sisters have a gripe against him because of things that he didn't do. Signing that blue light law and all that was not in our favor. Barack Obama was also anti-reparations. That was not in our favor at all. And it's funny how like a lot of these Republicans are all talking about like the Dems being for that. But no, they were just as complicit as being anti that. It's the reason that's the reason that Kamala Harris lost, because she would not like give any tangibles as far as like our concerns went as foundational Black Americans. It's not so much who voted for her, even though who didn't who or who did not vote for her. It's also about just her not like being clear on what she was going to do for us, as a group. And the CBC, it's funny. They were really crying foul, and I thought to myself the same thing. I thought you guys did not need us. You needed other groups. You didn't need us. You didn't need us to secure things that you could have secured a long time ago. The Democrats had a lot of representation, and they didn't secure a lot of the things that they're now crying foul against. They just thought if they weren't the Republicans that they would just be that party. No, it takes more than just being the opposite or opposite in name, or controlled opposition. It's not cool, so a lot of us, I don't know. Yeah, it's a trip that all this stuff is happening. But at the same time, the Democrats have no one to blame but themselves. They could have secured against all that stuff. They really could have. Brothers and sisters, like, we're our own constituents when it comes to just the way that we vote, especially now. It's not just a POC or a minority thing, because we have specific things that are not addressed with all the other groups. And a lot of people vote in their own interest. So we really, especially with this delineation movement, started voting with our own interest. So, the only thing that I could do is pray at this point and still act in where I am, But the Democrats are just as complicit with a lot of this stuff that they're now crying foul over. They could have literally secured against this, but they didn't, because they were too arrogant to listen to their base, the grassroots Black community. They were very arrogant with us. CBC is a perfect example of that, and how they treated a lot of those brothers and sisters trying to petition for the Freedmen's Bureau. And because they were tap dancing for Gavin Newsom, they basically just spun out on us. And yeah. So a lot of us are like, all right, since you're going to do that, we're washing our hands of you. But, we have obviously are not giving up. We never have. We've been fighting for this for quite some time. But we also know that anything that they say is disingenuous, because it's like, okay, if we're going to vote for you, what are you going to do specifically? That's what everybody shouts to Black Alpha and all the other brothers and sisters that have been confronting a lot of these Democratic cats, and hitting them up and making sure that they stand on business, that they just can't do the same old and the same old talk, like in vague stuff. Love Cornel West, dig him, but even him, I asked one of his dudes, that was kind of because and then shouts to the brother from CJEC brought up the same thing on the mic. I asked that same question that the brother from CJEC, Chad, did, like, we can't be vague. Like, what do you want? What are you going to do for our community in that sense? How are we going to benefit from even voting for you? Not just by you being in office and you not being Trump or a Republican. That's old. That's played out. We're not about symbolism like that. We're about tangibles, and we're about things getting done in our favor. That's where it's coming. So the Democrats, a lot of brothers and sisters, they think, and then they think that we're going MAGA because we're basically calling them out on their BS. I'm not MAGA, never will, and never will be that. I have my own political views that are very personal, that, to me, I'll just say that my political ideas are a bit non-binary in that regard, and I don't mean sexually either. And I would call myself a political agnostic, but I know what I want, so I don't say that anymore. And I don't need to describe it. What I vote for is what I vote for, and what I vote for is for a reason. And that's where I'm coming from, All the grassroots brothers and sisters, keep out there, man, and keep calling these cats out and letting them know what's really going on and what really should go on if they want our votes. All right. Peace.